Hi, today we'll do an example in Java. We'll continue our data structures series. So today we're just going to discuss comparators. So comparators are, instead of implementing comparable, two objects can be compared using a comparator object. So it's basically you're still using comparable, it's just you can have different comparators to compare in different ways. A comparator can be passed into a sorting method to determine the order of the sort, so this can go with the sorting class that we did. The comparator interface has a single method compare that operates like the compare to method of comparable, so basically it just uses compare to. Excuse me. It's like 2 degrees today, Celsius. We can compare student objects in various ways. We're going to create student objects in a sec. We can compare a comparator that compares exam scores and another that compares assignment scores. And you can sort based on which comparator you provide for the sort. So I think there's an Arrays.sort method we're going to use. And that method actually takes a comparator as its parameter, so it's a little confusing, but it just sorts based on the comparator. It's like an internal built-in method. So students are sorted based on which comparator you provide for the sort. The student class doesn't have to commit to any particular comparison technique, so if you implement the compare to method as we've done before in different ways, if you implement the compare to method, you can only compare in one special way. With this way, for each class, you're basically creating its own comparator, and you can compare them in different ways. It's like the same thing. We're still creating more classes because each one does implement comparator, but it's from an interface, so you don't have to implement compare to. It's just a different way. If you create one class, perhaps you could just create a comparator instead of having one single way to compare. You can have like 4 different ways to compare, and you can just call the comparator object. So we'll do an example. We're going to create a class called assignment. Actually, no, we'll do the student class first. So we'll close that. We'll right-click our src folder if you're using intellij. I think it's the same in Eclipse too. Maybe in VS Code. So we'll just write student. So we're just creating a student class with instance data. No generics today. So it just represents a student in the comparator example. That's a doc, we don't need to do that. So public class student we have private string ID, private integer exam average, private integer object assignment average, private integer overall average. That's it. We'll have a constructor. Public student. So we just reference the class name again, and we're going to pass in the same parameters. Except one of them, I guess. We'll use this keyword. This.id equals to ID. This.exam average equals exam average. This dot assignment average equals assignment average. And then this dot overall average equals exam average plus assignment average divided by 2. Now we'll just do some getters and setters. Actually, just getters, I think. You can do setters if you want to practice on your own. We don't actually use them. So we'll do public integer get assignment average. So remember, just for accessor methods or getters, it accesses something, one of our instance fields, one of our instance data. So we're going to, all you have to do really is just take the field that you want and then just put get in front of it, and perhaps you may have to change lowercase to capital to keep the naming convention. But you can have it all lowercase if you want. You could do this exactly. But if you're looking for it, if you're scanning through data, like a lot of stuff, then this may help you separate the words. So here we're no semicolon. Then we'll put return. Actually, no, sorry. Yeah, we can just do that then. Return assignment average. But actually, we'll put exam average on the top. Get exam average. Return exam average. Let's have a sip of my water. Okay, so after that, we'll do get overall average. Actually, did they not do an ID? Yeah, I think they, perhaps because we didn't use it, but we could do a get ID as well. But we'll just skip it. If we need it, we can come back. So we'll just do get overall average, public integer get overall average. Then here we'll just do return overall average. That's it. Then we'll do a toString. So public, actually we can write add override. So we know we're overriding it, know what happened there. So public string toString return ID plus exam average plus exam average plus the string assignment average plus the variable assignment average plus the string overall average plus overall average semicolon. You can double space that if you want. For me, it's easier to just do it in one line. What's up with this? Return assignment average. Return notes. Oh, we forgot the parentheses here. You probably didn't. I just didn't see it. Okay, so after that, we're going to do 4 small classes because you have to create them as separate objects, I guess. So we'll create an assignment comparator class, assignment comparator. Did I say operator? Comparator, like that. So we'll just do public class assignment comparator. Should be right. So we'll say public. Whoops, we already said that. We forgot to do implements here. We have to implement the interface. Implements comparator, the built-in Java comparator interface. It takes an object type, so you can do of type T. We'll do of type student. And we'll have to import as well. Import java.util.comparator. We're going to have to do that for all the classes. Then here it's going to say that we didn't implement the compare method. So it has a compare method, not a compare to, so don't get mixed up. The compare method just uses the compare to. It's just another way to use it, but in the end it just uses compare to. So again, the compare method, we're going to override it. What is happening here? Stupid formatting. Okay, so we'll do public int compare. Then it's going to take a student 01. We could do a obj1 or obj2. Let's do that. obj1 and student obj2. obj1 and obj2. So integer average 1 points to obj1 dot get assignment average. Integer average 2 points to obj2 dot get assignment average. So what's happening here is, instead of creating objects in a main class like we usually do, we're creating objects in in this assignment comparator class. We're instantiating, or not even instantiating, we're just calling our so what's going to happen, it's going to take a student object, then it's going to say, okay, that's student object, take a integer object variable, call average 1, point average 1 to the parameter student object, and call its get assignment average method. So in our student class we have a get assignment average method. Call that method because it's a student object. So somewhere we're going to be instantiating some, okay, here we go. We're going to be using an array after to instantiate student objects. So we'll do that. Here we'll just return average 1 dot compare to average 2. So all it is, it's calling the built-in compare to method, which is going to return -1 1 or 0, -1 0 1. So if the first object is less than the second object, it's going to return -1. So if you're comparing strings, it's going to compare them lexicographically using the Latin Unicode alphabet. You can find that on Wikipedia. If they're equal, it'll return a 0, and if the first one is greater than the second value, then it's going to return a +1. So that's, I think, yeah, there should be a built-in one. You can also override it, and we've done that before where we've compared clown objects and stuff. And just like numbers, fields, I think we did like 3 different ways. I think. I know I did practice doing that. Pretty sure I uploaded it. It should be in the previous videos, like way back. So look for that, and that's it. That's all we're doing here. We're gonna do 2 more. So we're gonna have, which ones do we have? Exam average. So assignment average. Now we'll do the exam one, and then we'll do the overall one last. So we'll right click our SRC folder. We'll create a new class called, which one did we just do? Assignment. So we'll do exam comparator. Just like that. And then we'll remember to implement, we'll implement comparator of type student object, because we're going to compare student objects in our comparator. So we'll override again. Why does it do that? And then we'll say public int compare. It'll take a student obj1 again, and a student obj2. Then we'll do integer. We could have just did val1. I would have preferred to do val1, but this is from the Java Foundations textbook. They used O1 here as well. They didn't use obj, but it's good to practice with different words. So we'll say integer average1 points to obj1 dot get exam average. So it's going to get the exam average, and it's going to say, we're going to create another variable, object variable, pointed to obj2. We're going to get that exam average. Then we'll return average1 dot compare to average2. So it's going to say which one's smaller, bigger, equal. It's going to say, is the first one less than, equal to, or greater than? So again, compares two integer objects numerically, compared to an interface comparable. Parameter is another integer, the integer to be compared, and then it just says it returns 0, -1, and +1 under certain conditions. So that's it. We'll do the last one, overall comparator. So we'll create another class. So we'll say overall comparator.java. So we have that. Public class overall comparator implements comparator of type student object. We're going to override. Then we'll say public int compare takes a student obj1 and a student obj2. So here we'll say integer average1 points to obj1 dot get overall average. Get overall average. Integer average2 points to obj1 dot get overall average. So then return average1 dot compare to average2. or val1 and val2, whatever you called it. What's happening with this? What's happening with that? Doesn't like it. Compare. Did I call it compare to? Unless it's just glitching out, it should work. Oh, we forgot to import. That's right. So import java.util.comparator. Should be gone now. And here we'll implement the comparator as well. So import java.util.comparator. So nothing too complicated, just you just have to grasp the concept. It's just a different way to compare stuff. You're just going to use the compare to method in different ways instead of just one. That's it. You can compare something in like 10 different ways if you want 100 different ways, rather than just implementing the compare to method, overriding it for just one special way. That way you don't have to keep overriding it every time. But technically we are. It's just easier this way. You don't have to keep changing the class, at least the compare to method. So that's it, and then we're just going to create an array and test it out. So we'll just do that in the main method. We'll import the arrays class, import java.util.arrays. So here we'll create an object array, so student array students points to new student array of 5. Indexes 0 to 4, index 0 to 4. Why is there a breakpoint on that? Okay, so now why is also that bracket up there? Silly thing. Okay, so now we'll do students of, yep, that's right, students of index 0 points to new student. We'll create some names here. Why don't we do like so wait, let's just check our student class again. So it takes an ID, string ID. Should have been a name, would have been better, because usually you do integer or int ID or double ID, no, float ID. You don't do a string ID, but that's okay, because ID is usually a number, not a name. Doesn't matter though. Where were we here? Just have a sip of water again, excuse me. So we can do some movie characters, just to make this a little fun. So if I can remember I forgot the girl's name from Fast and Furious. Oh yeah, Mia. So we'll do Mia got 97, and then her assignment. Oh wait, no, that's exam average. Did I do them backwards? 75. Oh, forgot a comma here. Exam average, assignment average. And here we can do students of index 1 points to new student. We can do Brian. Got an 80 on his exam average and an 80 on his assignment average. Then here we'll do students of array index 2 points to new student. What's Vin Diesel's character's name? Totally forgot. Toretto? I don't know his first name. Forgot. Did they even tell us his first name? Or was his first name Toretto? Okay, so he got a 75. And he got a 94 on his assignment average. We'll say students of array index 3 points to new student object. And remember, in here we're just instantiating the object instance data. So in this array we're instantiating student objects. That's why we're saying what? That's why we're saying new student, and each student takes these parameters. So we have to give them parameters. That's all we're doing. We're instantiating student objects in an array. We're instantiating the objects and setting it equal to an array index. So we're storing it in the array at the same time they're being initialized or instantiated. So here we'll say Letty. Is it Letty or Letty? Not sure. In Arizona there was some girl named Letty. Her name had 2 T's, so we'll just do that. I think she was Spanish or something. So we'll do 95 here and 85. So students of array index 4 points to new student. What's that dude's name? Jesse? The one with the beanie who gets shot. He got an 85 and his score was 75 on assignment average. So we'll output the students before the sort. So we'll just comment that. Output the students before sort. It's a good movie though, the first one. First one and fourth one. First one's obviously the best. Second one's not that great. Third one's okay. It has nothing to do with the story really till the end. And the fourth one's just like he sees Mia again. Years have passed. So we'll do for int I, it points to 0. I is less than students dot length. I plus plus. Then we'll do system dot out dot println. Then we'll output the students of array index I. So we're just iterating from the 0th index to the last index minus 1. No, sorry, less than the length, which is the index minus 1. Then we're going to increment every time. And just pretend there's brackets here if you're used to that too. Then we'll print out students of the index. And then we'll increment back to the top and do the same thing. So here we're going to call the Arrays.sort. We'll pass in students, the students array. And we'll put the new operator here. We don't use this at all. Exam comparator. So this is a special method. I have some notes here somewhere on them. Just give me 1 second. So it is, I have a no file here. I did. Student comparator.txt might be in there. Nope. Here we go. Arrays.sort comparator. This one. Okay, so so if you really want to find the definition, go to the Oracle docs. Go to the arrays class. So Java Oracle docs arrays class, something like that. Google that. Scroll down to what method is sort, and look for the parameters that takes a comparator. But this one, so it's public static, and then of generic type T void sort takes parameter T array A, and then comma takes a comparator with capital C, takes in the angular brackets, takes a question mark, and then super T. The question mark, I forgot what that means. Is that a wildcard? Something like that. It's in my notes. We never use this, so I just kind of having a brain blank right now. But I did do notes on it. It's in those notes. So it's question mark super T, close angular bracket, and then just they call it C. So all it's saying is it takes an array and it takes a comparator of some type. So it sorts the specified array of objects according to the order induced by the specified comparator. All elements in the array must be mutually comparable by the specified comparator, that is, c.compare e1, e2 must not throw a class cast exception. Some other stuff. For any elements e1 and e2 in the array, this sort is guaranteed to be stable. Equal elements will not be recorded as a result of the sort. Just some other stuff, and that's about it. So it's just a comparator. It takes a comparator, so we'll try to work with it. Okay, so where were we now? So Arrays.sort students new exam comparator. So after that we will output students after sorting by exam average. So again, this comparator is taking the exam comparator, so it's going to sort them in the way that the exam comparator wanted us to sort them. So we're saying take the exam average, take the one with the take the object, the obj1 and obj2, compare obj1 to obj2, basically, because we're saying integer average 1 equals obj1 dot get average, get exam average. So I think what we really could have said is we could have just said obj1 dot get exam average dot compare to obj2 dot get exam average. That's all we're doing. So we're just comparing obj1 to obj2 based on exam average. That's all we're doing. I think it is doing something behind the scenes here. You can try to we'll try to walk through with the debugger. Then after that we're going to print it out to show that we sorted it. So we'll print out a new line just to space it out. We'll write a message here to the user after sorting by exam average. Whoops, in a string. After sorting by exam average, we'll say for int I equals 0, I is less than students.length, I++, no brackets. System.out.println students of array index I. Students of array index I. Same thing, and then we'll sort again. Arrays.sort students, and then new assignment comparator. New assignment comparator. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to pass an assignment comparator in the sort method, so it's going to sort them based on assignment comparator. So after that, we'll output students after sorting by assignment average. System.out.println. I know it's not the most exciting code, it's just teaching us how to use comparators. After sorting by assignment average. So here we'll just do the same thing. For int I equals 0, I is less than student.length I++, so we're just printing out our array again. System.out.println students of array index, oops, not a string, students of array index I. Then here we'll do we just do that? We'll call Arrays.sort. So Arrays.sort is a built-in method again. We'll pass an overall comparator. Overall comparator. So it's going to be doing something behind the scenes. Hopefully the debugger will show us. But it's really just putting them in order. It's saying, okay, the students that we're going to pass in, which is students, sort them by the overall average. It is basically just doing everything behind the scenes. Because think about it, this overall comparator just takes 2 parameters, but we have 4 students. So it's really just going to be passing them in until there's none left. I think that's what confused me the first time around, so I'm just trying to hopefully clear it up with you. If you're wondering how they're being sorted, it's just a built-in method. It's going to be doing it behind the scenes. So here we'll just print it out again. And we can see if we'll see anything in the debugger. So after sorting by overall average, then we'll say for int I equals 0, I is less than students.length, I++, system.out.println students of array index I. So it's good practice, at least for arrays. And we've created object classes, set getters, used the this keyword, instantiated objects, created a student array. So object array, that's usually always on a programming test at some point. Arrays and object arrays. Setting their fields in the instantiation. Printing out the array using a for loop, that's always on a test as well. I think we could have used a for each loop here. Enhance for Alt-Shift-Enter, so let me hit that. So for a student object, so what's our student? So our array is called students. So we just call this obj. System.obj. So we can just write that here, so I can go over it. For each loops are a little bit tricky. So we just put the for. We've done this before, probably a while ago. So we're just doing a for loop. We'll say student. We'll name it because we're printing out the type we want to get or type. We're gonna have to call the class. So it's a student object that we're going to be printing. So we're gonna say student type. We're gonna name it our object. Obj. We'll say equal to or in. Usually equal to works, so student object equals to our students array. Then just print out our new array, basically. Because this is like think of like this, it's equals. Or you can think of it equal to or in. I think the formal name is in. For student object, student obj in students. Print out obj. So just I say equals, seems like it makes more sense. Different times the other way may make more sense as well. If it's like iterating through each time and you're doing something. But so student object, student obj equals to students. So then it's saying, okay, this is object reference variable basically. Pointing now it points to students. Now print out our students by calling our object reference variable. That's all it's doing. And that's it. We'll run it. Save and run. That should work. Is that everything? Yeah, I think that is everything. Excuse me. Whoops, okay, so I need a semicolon here. So, semicolon here. It's just my cat meowing. She visits sometimes. I used to have two of them, but they stay at my sister's house. There we go. Mia exam average. I feel like I'm forgetting spaces here. CR2 string plus ID. Oh, try that. Try that. Put a space there, put a space there, and put a space here. Funny thing about formatting strings. Formatting strings in C, I hate it. I hated it. %D and %S every time. %F, it was so annoying. Okay, so Mia exam average got a 97 on the assignment average. Got a 75 on the overall average. So I guess it averages the two scores. So it's saying, okay, here's an ID, which is a name, remember? It's saying, okay, here's the exam average. Then, okay, here's our exam average. Then here's our, so 97, that's our exam average for Mia. Then here's our assignment average as a string. There's a dot, 2 dots. Here's our assignment average. And then here's our overall average, the string overall average, and here's the number associated with that. So I guess it prints out everybody's instance data exactly like this, because that's what we asked it to do. Output the students before the sort, then sort it based on exam average. So sort it based on exam average. So not this one, down here, after sorting by exam average. So what it's really going to do is it's going to take its exam average, like right here, we have an exam average, right? It's going to put the lowest number first. I guess it's sorting in ascending order. So I guess Toretto got the lowest, Brian second, Jesse third, Letty and Mia got the highest ones. So can we get a... I don't know if it's going to actually show us what it did. We're going to try. Because again, it only takes two parameters, right? So Arrays.sort, can we jump into that? Okay, so we're going to jump into our exam comparator. Okay, so we're here. Nope, doesn't show us anything. Oh, so it does. Exam comparator, so okay, so it's going to say integer average 1 equals to obj1.get exam average. So average 1 equals obj.get exam average, so obj1 was Brian. Okay, let's start this over. Excuse me. Let me make this smaller because I can't even see everything here. Make this smaller. Actually, maybe not too small, but this one's a little bit too big. Okay, so let's start again. Because it is going to show us, I guess. It's going to show us what we need to see. So here we go, we printed them out, we just went over that. So we're going to jump into this Arrays.sort. So sort it by new exam comparator. So I guess we're going to go into the instantiation of exam comparator. We're going to step in. Again, I guess it takes us back out, and now we're going to step back in into the compare method. So it's going to say, so here it's saying, okay, we're taking two parameters. Excuse me. Getting tired. So it's taking two behind the scenes. It's taking two. Yeah, so it is behind the scenes. So it's taking two objects, obj1 and obj2. Unfortunately, it is behind the scenes. So when we instantiated, so I guess obj1's the second one, obj2 is the first one. Yeah, so unfortunately it is behind the scenes. It's not really showing us how they picked the parameters out of the bunch that we have, because you can see that here we have five different objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's just choosing Brian and Mia. And it's not telling us how they did that, so it is behind the scenes. So it's comparing, they're basically taking our comparator and just shoving two of our values in at a time. And it's not telling us why or how they did it. That's what I disliked about this this code. And even in the Oracle docs, it doesn't show anything either. So just returning the exam average for Brian, and then it's going to return the exam average for Mia, then it's going to return Brian's was less than Mia. So it'll probably return a -1. See, now it's running into all this built-in code. Now it's doing Toretto's, and I don't even know who it is. Yeah, see, it's doing everything behind the scenes, unfortunately, so there's no point of even looking at it. Just try to get the general idea. I know it's confusing at this point. Just get the general idea of what it's doing, and we can see when we run it that all it's really doing is just sorting. If we're saying, okay, sort it by exam comparator, then it's just gonna, this is printing it out initially. So if it's gonna sort by exam average, it's gonna put them into ascending order from lowest to highest by exam average only. So if you go here, sort by assignment average, so after we print them out, so we print it out once, we sorted it by the exam comparator, then we printed it out twice. Printed out once, sorted it. No, printed out once, sorted it, printed out twice. Then okay, we're saying sort it with the assignment comparator right here. Then it's going to say, okay, well the assignment average is here. Now the assignment average is going to be in ascending order, 75 to 94. I guess it just decided to go alphabetically on that, perhaps, because they were the same value. It went alphabetically on the name, but I don't think it really matters. Then okay, we printed it out. Then okay, we sorted again by comparator, by overall average, so take the overall average and put that in ascending order. So 80, 80, 84, 86, 90, so it's going in ascending order. So that's about it. Again, it is all behind the scenes, but just we can see what it's doing here. It's just sorting it by overall comparator, by whatever comparator we want. And if we're going to sort it by overall comparator, then it's going to sort by overall average. So it's going to take the student objects, Mia, Brian, Toretto, Letty, Jesse, and it's going to put the smallest one first, then the next smallest one second, then the next smallest one third, in ascending order. That's all it's going to do. Put the values in ascending order based on assignment average. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.